This is going to be a small tutorial on how to get your first vehicle in RigsOfRods, and that's using a program called the Roar Editor, where you can make your first node beam, and then I will explain how to get it into the game itself. So you'll need the program, and you can find it by going to the website, docs, scroll to the bottom, download it, extract it, and then put it somewhere else. These top two files right here, in case you get an error message when you try to open the editor itself, go back to the page where you download it from and it will tell you what to do with them. Let's see, gives you a blank truck file right here. You can copy that and put it on the desktop for now, and then also make a shortcut to the desktop. And then you can rename this truck file to something else, whatever you want to name your first creation. Open it up, write the title again. The next line here is the author line, so make sure you put your name. Let's see, globals you can read up on by going to truck file format, required sections, and you can read through each one of these one by one on what it does, but for now just ignore it. And so you need a title, globals, nodes, beams, cameras, Cinecam, and an end. To input nodes and beams, that's where the Roar Editor itself comes in. So make sure you save this, close it out, and then open up your editor. And then from here, open up your truck file, which you just now remembered to put somewhere else. And so put it in your vehicles folder within documents. So user, your username, documents, RigsOfRods, whatever version you're on, vehicles. So put it there. Then go back and open it. Alright, this is a fairly simple editor, but somewhat powerful. It's really good for manipulating nodes and beams. All these radio buttons at the top are pretty self-explanatory. Edit nodes, add beams, move view. Make sure you click snap nodes to grid. To pan around, you can hold left click to slide in and out, or left and right, up and down. Hold right click, you can kind of pan around with it. If you hold right click on the other views, it will zoom in, depending on which way you go, zoom in to the right, zoom out to the left. And last thing, change the grid size. I like to go all the way to the left and then click one over to the right, and then kind of zoom in again to about right there. For this first creation, let's just make it really simple. Let's just make a cube, because I think that's about the bare minimum that you can make in RigsOfRods. You need at least 8 nodes, I believe, to make connection points for the Cinecam, but we'll get into that in a minute. So to make a cube, click Add Nodes, click total of 8 times. If you look here in the lower left hand corner, you can see the node coordinate position, so you can kind of line things up. So I clicked 8 times. You can see from this view that it looks like they're all on top of each other. If you click print node numbers, then you can actually see that they are they're still there, but they're just overlapping. So go up to edit nodes up here at the top, and then from another view, you can click, hold, and drag those nodes to the left and right. And you can double check the position by looking over here at the left hand corner, so you can make sure that it is symmetrical. You can also go to duplicate and move nodes here. You can flip nodes, but for now just add them all manually. You can look in and see what we've done so far. So we've only moved 2 so far, so let's move the other 2 up top, and let's go to the bottom, move those. Alright, so we've got our 8 nodes in place. Remember, right click and hold to pan around. Next we need to add beams. You need to be careful how fast you click, because sometimes you can add 0 length beams and that will mess with things later on. So if you click on this tab over here, you can see beams, what you've made so far, and make sure they're all accounted for. Let's finish up our cube. Alright, so we've got the shape of a cube, but if you're familiar with how things work in RigsOfRods, beams connect to nodes and they act like a ball joint that is basically it's basically frictionless, and it can move around on a pivot in any direction. And so this structure right here won't have any rigidity, but for now let's just leave it like this, and I can bring in game and show you how it doesn't hold up on itself. So save this and make it half your view, because you'll need to reference this in a second. Open up the actual truck file itself, and next we need to make cameras. So what the camera section does is it makes a reference for the game to orientate your box or your vehicle, and that's how it knows which way to point it. So if you go back to the website and click on cameras, which I'm sure I just scrolled over. Here we go, cameras. So the syntax goes center, back, left. You can see visually here. So your first node in the center, then one to the back, or one behind it, excuse me, and then one to the left of it, all in a 90 degree angle. So then we go back here. Let's say we want this direction over here to the right as our front. So we're going to pick 3 as our first node, 1 as our second node, and 2 as our last. And then the last one we need before we can get in the game is the Cinecam. So go back to the website and look at the syntax for it. It is a coordinate, so an X, Y, and Z position, followed by 8 binding nodes. So a way that you can find the coordinates of where you want the camera to be placed is to go back to the editor itself, add a node to where you want your camera to be. Let's add it right there, and then go to nodes and look at the position of where it's at. And you can see over here it's negative 1.3, 0, and 1.2. And this is then followed by 8 nodes. So the only 8 nodes that we have are 0 through 7. So we'll enter those. And we should be able to get in this box now. So let's save it. Let's close this because we don't want to save what we just made there. And let's open it up in game. And you can either open up the game and browse to it, or if you're going to be opening up the same file over and over again, you can go to debug. You can pick a map by typing in the name, and then you can pick a vehicle by typing in the name followed by .truck. So you can see this is our box. We made it kind of large. If you hit enter, you should get in it. And you can see that it's not very stable. And the only reason it's being held up is because of the Cinecam right here. So let's add some structure to it. Let's go back into the editor, save that, close it. And let's add some beams. So let's make triangles. That is the simplest, most rigid shape that you can make. So let's add triangles to the outside edges of each of these squares. You can see what we just made there. And then to make this a little bit easier on the eyes, we can go back and make some of these invisible. Which you can apply by selecting all of them and changing the option to eye. That will make them invisible. And then you can go back over here and hide invisible beams also, and that will show it in game. So let's save that again. This is kind of large. Actually, before we go back in, let's scale it down to half the size. So if we go in here and we type 0.5 for each one of these axes, then we can scale it down. Save that, go back in the game. You can tell it's a lot smaller now. And there you have it. If you hit K, you can look at the structure. Here's the camera. If you hit C, you can look to see where that camera points. And that's about it. I might make future videos about how to add wheels and suspension, but for now this should hold you over. And if you have any questions, you can always ask the forum. People usually are happy to help. Most of the time, like 50% of the time, or never. You can also go to docs, look at the truck file format, and browse through and check to see what each one of these does. Yeah, good luck. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I will get to it within 1 to 2 years. Thanks.